What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Postgame show presented by BetUS. The Blazers today take on the Clippers and gave them a battle. This was an offensive shootout that the Blazers couldn't pull out at the end as the Clippers win 132 to 127. The Blazers backcourt was impressive. Anthony Simons, 38 points in this one. Sharp, 27 points. Henderson, 19 points for him. Impressive outing from the Blazers backcourt, but they can't get it done. Eric, what's going on, man? How you doing? And how you feeling about the Blazers being competitive against a tough team on the road, but failing to execute late once again?
Yeah, nice to see Scoot have 19 points. Thought Sharp had a pretty good game. Ant, I felt like had a really good game until the end. I felt like he tried to do too much and resulted in some turnovers when he probably should have shot it and some shots when he probably should have passed it. I'm getting a little frustrated. I've talked about this now several games this year, and I'm sure you've noticed it as well. We just don't get Sharp the ball in the last few minutes of games, and I feel like he can not necessarily create a shot better than Ant, but he can get a shot off against tougher coverage, I believe. And I feel like we're just kind of going away from him or not including him in the stretches of games. And I think that's a big reason why we can't execute late.
Yeah, he has to be a little more assertive. Chauncey has to have more little structure, more offensive structure down the stretch. We moved the ball really well in this game, I thought. I thought we kind of got away from that a little bit late. And a little bit earlier in the fourth quarter, it was like every time we had a little lull, usually it was after a Clipper timeout. Then we'd call a timeout. Then we'd start moving the ball again. It felt like every offensive lull we had, we just kind of stopped moving the ball. I thought for the most part in this game, we moved the ball really well, got really good shots against a defense with a lot of length. And then when, we had to make a play off the dribble, had to attack off the dribble, like Simons got to the free throw line at will. I know it says 32 points in his graphic. I will update that as soon as I am physically able to. But he lived at the line. Sharp lived at the line. Scoot hit some jumpers. Scoot career high. Like, our guards made plays, and a lot of the ball movement stemmed off of Anthony Simons' drives. It just kind of evaporated down the stretch a little bit, and we struggled to get buckets late, which is kind of what you'd expect against a more experienced, bigger team. But that was a little disheartening after they did what I thought a really good job moving the ball all game long. But that's when you got to settle down. You got to run something, and that's on Chauncey. You got to figure out ways to get Shaedon Sharp more touches late, especially with how we kind of falter late offensively. Even if we've had a good offensive game, you got to find ways to get the ball in his hands and get him shots later in games, because this is becoming a common theme where Sharp will have a terrific game, but then for whatever reason, the last 4 or 5 minutes of games, he barely touches the ball and he barely sees a shot. You muted yourself.
Sorry, train was going by.
You're fine.
Obviously, Simon scored the most points, but I felt like Sharp was our most, I don't know how to word it, but he had the best shot quality and shot making tonight, and
I don't think we have to turn it into a competition. I thought both those guys were great tonight.
No, I know. I'm just saying, it shouldn't be a case where Ant has the ball 6 or 7 possessions in a row and Sharp doesn't get any. That's my only thing is at least run a play. It was about halfway through the quarter. There was a timeout and we ran a nice curl play for him. He shot a mid-range jumper that rimmed in and out. But that's the last play I remember him having in the game was several minutes left in the fourth. I'm probably missing one down the stretch, but I feel like he didn't really even touch the ball on offense.
Yeah, we'll go over the game log here in a second. I think we've seen it in playoffs, I think we see it late in close games. Too many coaches in this league seem to have a propensity to just, when a guy has it going, just let him dictate everything and not even call sets. But close games late, defenses get a little more physical, a little more locked in, like the intensity ratchets up.
Well, especially when they have George, and Kawhi. Like, that's tough to score against doing that,
Yeah, 100%. And it's like when you have a guy like Damian Lillard, you're fine, right? Most of the time. But even there would be times where Dame would struggle late in games because we basically ran everything through him. Whereas, Anthony Simons, he looked like a star, I thought, tonight for extended periods of this game. But even for some legitimate stars, it's hard to just carry the offense, especially against defense like this that has a lot of length and is very active and veteran-laden, right? Like, they're going to figure out ways to make things tough on Ant. And I thought late he got to the free throw line a few times. He had 13 free throws. We talked about him needing to improve his free throw rate to become a star. 13 free throws in this game against a defense like that is absolutely phenomenal. So that's great, but it felt like late it just turned into, let's just let Anthony Simons kind of dictate everything. And I understand given how he was playing, but I would have liked, especially with Sharp, who was on fire this game as well, I would have liked to have seen some sort of action that could have included him, could have let those guys play off each other a little bit more, because it was very much just kind of like stand around late and hope that Anthony Simons could do something. Of course, we've seen that in the past with Damian Lillard, standing around late hoping he could do something. So that's just kind of a learning experience, I hope, for Chauncey, man. Like, when you got these two guards playing this well, don't ice one of them out to let the other dictate the game. You got to figure out ways to get them playing off of each other, figure out ways to keep them both involved. And I just thought we kind of fell apart late in terms of our offense. I don't really blame Ant too much for it, because if he's bringing the ball up the court and they're not calling anything and it's just on him to go make something happen, he's going to try and go make something happen, So it's like a good problem to have when you have two guards this good. And Chauncey has to figure out ways in order to help them complement each other late in crunch time. Because I thought during this game, like, Sharp got open shots off of Ant drives, and sometimes it wasn't Ant assists. Sometimes it was Ant just drawing multiple defenders, making a kick out, and it was an extra pass to Sharp, and he got good looks. I think Simons is making the game easier on Sharp. I think those guys are complementing each other well for the most parts of games right now. It's just late in games, you're not seeing the same, just the same offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you have Moses Brown, who was not screening anyone on his screens. Like, the screens were like non-existent, so we're getting no space. And then Reith, his defense was just brutal. So even though he sets a little better screens, I mean, he was kind of a liability out there as well tonight. So
yeah, you miss Ayton in a game like this tonight.
Right.
Ayton, they probably win this game with Ayton playing for sure.
Yeah, and there were several plays where Moses or Reith got passes. This wasn't necessarily at the end of the game, but there was passes where they were just not unguarded around 10 to 15 feet from the hoop, and Ayton would have a field day in those situations. So yeah, unfortunately, could have used him tonight, even if he wasn't setting screens, just roaming to that little mid-range area and hitting the shots like he's done all year.
Yeah. I mean, in end of the game, or at the end of the day, it's not really the offense. You score 127 points, you should be able to win basketball games, especially when it's your offense that's held you back more than your defense this year. This one was just, you got to play better defense. I know they're missing guys, but you can't let them score 132 points. That's just not good.
Yeah.
Opening night, we let them score 129, and that was with some of our front court. So Clippers, for whatever reason, seem to be a bad matchup for us. We're 1-14 against them our last 15 games. So no matter who we're trotting out there, like, they seem to have our number. But you got to figure out ways to slow them down. I think that's really where we missed Ayton, because Reith just doesn't have it defensively. Offensively, he can play. Offensively, he belongs in this league. Defensively, he doesn't. Defensively, he's very, very rough. So that's where, having Ayton's mobility, length, and side, like, I don't think Ayton's, a top 3, maybe probably not a top 5 rim protector, but compared to what we were trotting out there tonight at the center position, like, he would have made a definite difference in this game defensively.
Well, I'm a little confused at why, because we were doing this with Jabari Walker too when he was the center, and it made no sense to me why not only were they running drop, but they were running drop like the big is under the basket, and it was allowing, especially in the first half, and then part of the second half, that it just allowed them to get right into about the 8-foot range before we even put a body on him off a screen and roll. And I just, that was confusing to me because, like, you would think if Jabari's doing it, that's coach's call, right? Jabari wouldn't be sagging that far off. I understand if it's like Westbrook, but not like Paul George and Kawhi. So I was a little confused on why we were sagging, not only playing drop, but like sagging so far off of it. And then when Rita's in, we have the exact opposite problem. He just automatically jumps all screens, and he like jumps them before the screen even happens. And it's not even a case where it's like an automatic switch. He's just like, he's like making it be a switch every time. And the Clippers noticed that whenever he was in the game and easily got Harden and Kawhi and Paul George switched onto him several times. And it's just kind of driving me crazy that our coaching staff isn't fixing these things throughout the game, because it came up time and time again tonight.
Yeah. You remember the recent post-game show where I said the quality of our defense is pretty much directly tied to how many turnovers we force?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to force many turnovers against the team that runs the most ISO in the league when you're switching pick and rolls and giving their ISO guys matchups they like, right? Yeah. You're switching Duop Reith onto Paul George. You're switching Anthony Simons, who I thought did a decent job defensively tonight when switched out onto Kawhi Leonard, just like opening night, but you're switching him out onto Kawhi Leonard. Like, that's a tough matchup for him to win, and Kawhi tonight, 11 for 19, 9 for 9 from the free throw line, like Kawhi 8 in this game. You're basically just switching into matchups, and then they can just play one-on-one, and then you double, but the thing is they were really good passing out of a double. How many buckets did they get around the rim because they made multiple interior passes in this game, especially in the first quarter when they had 43 points? Their interior passing was very impressive, and a lot of times it was like we switch a mismatch, we switch Reith onto a guy that he has no business guarding out on the perimeter, so then Matisse Thybulle would shade over or just come double, which I can't complain about. Like, that's probably the right call in that situation, but then they cut to the open spots. You're playing 4-on-3 behind that, and you're getting the Blazers stuck in rotations, and we only forced 9 turnovers tonight, and you look at how many points they have, 132. Like, the Blazers, I talked about them a couple games ago. At the time, I don't know what they are now, but at the time, they were the number 1 team of forcing opponent turnovers, but they still ranked 20th at adjusted defensive rating. So that says to me that, when they're not forcing turnovers, they're really, really bad defensively, but, they're able to be kind of closer to average because they force turnovers at an insane rate. But against a team like this, if you can't force turnovers, you're going to have a tough time, and that's kind of what we saw play out. So I would like to see this team have like a good defensive game where they're not forcing turnovers.
Yeah, because I believe at halftime, if I'm remembering correctly, the Clippers had 2 turnovers and we had 0 points off of turnovers, and that's what you're talking about.
Yep, absolutely. Like, we do a good job running guys off free throw line, or not off the free throw line, off the 3-point line. So we force turnovers. We play out on the perimeter pretty aggressively. What's the downside of that? You're probably going to give up more drives if you're playing aggressively, playing the passing lanes, gunning for steals, and then pressuring up on the ball on the perimeter. You're a little easier to beat. So that's where you need someone competitive at a center spot to clean up all the drives that you're going to give up. And the Blazers, just like last year, give up a ton of shots at the rim and give up a really good percentage at the rim. And that's where you need a guy like DeAndre Ayton, because Moses Brown and Duop Reith can't cut it. So I think clearly, like, the style of play, you really need a legitimate rim protector. Without a guy like Ayton, they are basically screwed because you're just giving up drive after drive after drive. That turns into a situation where you have to force turnovers, where you have to get steals because the shots they got up in this game were very quality, you know? So that's where having a secondary rim protector at the 4 spot, you know, like a Jeremy Grant with Tamani at the 3, you're a little more switchable. You're a little bit more capable of covering for that style of defense. Without Grant and Ayton, you're just kind of screwed there because Tamani's going to be playing guys like Kawhi, even though he's at the power forward spot. Reith is going to be switching out. So what do you have on the backside? Matisse Thybulle, Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson. Like, you're getting caught with those guys playing down low defensively, having to make plays around the rim against a bunch of drives because they're switching out. Yeah, it's not going to go well, and that's why they're able to just kind of pick us apart on the interior with interior passing. And I don't know how many paint points they had in this one, but 66-32. Last game, wasn't it something very similar?
I think we had a little more than 32, but yeah, we gave up a lot. Yeah.
So this game was 66-32. Last game against the Mavericks, where we gave up 125 points, it was 62-30. Yeah. So 66-32, 62-30. Both games we give up at least 62 points in the paint, and we get more than doubled up in terms of points in the paint. So that just goes to show you, like, you need that front court. We'll see what this team looks like with Jeremy Grant and DeAndre Ayton soon, hopefully. I want to see Scoot playing better, which, you know, he had a great game today. We'll talk about that. Sharp playing the way he is. He's on an insane tear right now. Simon's playing the way he is. I want to see those guys paired with Grant and with Ayton and just see what that looks like. Because we haven't gotten the gift of Scoot playing better, Simon's playing it all with that front court, and Sharp playing the way he is right now. I mean, Sharp is taking a huge step right now. I think that's 5 games in a row with at least 20 points for him. So really curious to see what that looks like, because right now the guards are impressive, man. This backcourt is freaking fun. Like, it was fun watching Scoot, Simon, Sharp today. They just got beat inside because they're playing Duop Reith and Tamani Kamara is, you know, he's fine at the 4 if you have like a physical center, and if you don't switch too much, you gotta. I like Kamara more at the 3. So we just got obliterated inside is really what this game came down to.
I was going into the season, I thought the exact opposite. I thought he needed to play the 4 and use the size a little bit, but I completely agree with your statement just now that he's better for us at the 3 because he's better guarding the perimeter, and that just when he's the 4 and you have your center switching out. There was also a play where I forgot who it was drove, but Reith was actually guarding Zubac and just never got around him, and the guy just went right by both of them, Zubac and Reith, and laid it in. And like, you can't have your center just get caught behind the other team's big like that. He has to be able to step in and contest that shot. They just let him go right by him. So yeah, it's tough when you obviously want Kamara guarding one of their better perimeter players, which he was, and unfortunately our big kept getting switched on to a perimeter player, and we just didn't have the right matchups, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. I forgot what I was going to say, but if you want to switch down often from a front court spot, from a 4 or 5 spot onto guards or onto smaller positions, you kind of need a big small forward, because somebody has to switch up, or somebody has to help cover for guards switching up, because at that point you kind of got to flood the interior. And if you got a power forward or a center out on a guard, out contesting shots, they're not going to be able to help much, and they're not going to be able to help you rebound. So you need that extra little bit of size, especially at a small forward spot, if you're going to switch a bunch. If you don't have size at the small forward spot, then you probably should try not to switch so you don't get caught getting exploited for the lack of size switching up onto front court positions. So that's the thing that's frustrating in the past, is like the Blazers have normally had a pretty small forward, but they've switched a ton, and it's just not the lineup to do it with. It's not a switchable lineup. So it's frustrating when the Blazers switch constantly with non-switchable lineups. Certain lineups are built for that. Like if you play, the Clippers, remember like 3 years ago, they had Paul George at the 2, Mo Harkless at the 3, Kawhi at the 4, or like interchangeable, right? Kawhi at the 2, Paul George at the 3, Mo Harkless at the 4, whatever you want to call it. Like you didn't even have to give those guys positions, but that was basically their shooting guard, small forward, power forward. That's a super switchable lineup because they all can guard the perimeter. They all can guard fours. They all can be some size that bothers drives around the rim. They all can box out, rebound. Like they're just well-rounded like that. So that's a switchable lineup. When you're running Sharp out there at the 3, Thibault out there at the 3, you're not built to switch the way they did today. So a little frustrated with how often they did that.
Well, then when we did do that, I don't know how many offensive rebounds they had, but it seemed...
It felt like they had more because they were competitive.
It was worse in the
on
first
like every
half,
board.
I think. Yeah. But yeah, we got several stops, and then in that first quarter when they scored 42 or 43 or whatever it was, it felt like we had several where Zubac just got a rebound after a nice defensive effort, and we just didn't have enough rebounding in the game.
Yep. Before we talk about the backcourt, because that's what we're talking about next, this is going to be a positive segment in a loss because the backcourt was phenomenal. But before we get into that, this postgame show is presented by BetUS, which is our sportsbook sponsor for the entire season. I'm also starting a weekly show with them. I'm going to be a part of a show that they're producing. On Fridays, I'm going to be live with them with some other creators, so that's going to be fun over on BetUS TV. So I'll tweet that out. I'll post it in the Discord if you guys want to check that out. You guys are very supportive of anything I do, so I appreciate that. But BetUS, sportsbook sponsor, great sponsor all year long. If you want to get in on some betting action with any sport you love, make sure to use BetUS, as they are a reliable sportsbook, great customer service. They're 24/7, and there's a link in my description box below that will give you a 125% deposit match. So if you deposit $100, you'll get a free $125 to play with. And the Blazers have been really good against the spread because for whatever reason, they keep getting these 12, 13-point spreads. They were 13-point underdogs in this game, and I felt like they were going to be competitive. Even without guys, the Blazers have been competitive in games this year. So I think the Blazers have actually been maybe the easiest team in the league to bet against the spread on. So if you want to pick games against the spread, whether it's Blazers, whether it's any other NBA team, NFL teams, whatever, BetUS has you covered. They also got parlays, prop bets, all sorts of fun stuff for you guys to check out. So shout out to them. If you want to use them, make sure to use that link in the description box below, as it also helps the channel. Let me thank a couple of donations before we jump into the discussion about Simon, Sharp, and Scoot. You got a $5 donation from Michael Orm. What's up, Michael? Says, at least we're not Detroit. They've lost 20 in a row. 20 in a row, Eric. They were 2-1. Now they're 2-21, which is absurd.
They are bad.
What's the record for most losses in a row? Isn't it like 26?
I don't know. Alex Wolf, do you know that?
Why are they...
Is it Cleveland still? I don't remember.
I just don't understand why they're so bad. Like, you look at their roster, they got some guys, man.
Well, Duran's been out of the lineup for a long, like, in and out of the lineup. He'd come back a couple games, then he'd get hurt again. And now he's out several weeks. And, yeah, as Blazer fans in chat, San Antonio's also lost a ton in a row, and they've actually had most of their team available. So I don't get it, man. Like,
they're bad defensively. Like, Asar Thompson tries to carry him defensively. Today they lost, and Asar Thompson was 8 for 10, 1 for 2 from 3, 20.6 rebounds, 2 assists.
Ski Mask Ghoul says, why haven't they fired their coach yet? Because they just hired him a few months ago, and they gave him the biggest contract, I think, in league history for a coach. So
yeah, he is not worth all that. I mean, defensively, bro, the numbers they are giving up, like, they had a stretch. They lost to the Wizards 126-107. Gave up the game before that 136 against the Pacers, 133 against the Lakers. Like, they gave up 131 tonight. Like, we gave up 132 and 125 points last game. Like, our defense the last 2 games has felt awful. Try consistently doing that, because that's what the Pistons are doing right now.
So 26 is the record in one season, 28 over like if you count the end of one season into the next season.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. Shout out Kanan Dune with a $5 donation. Says, does Sharp have top 10 player in the league upside? Call me Homer, but every opposing team's broadcasters droll over his upside. I mean, his ceiling is definitely in the range of a top 10 player. Like, if you can't say that he won't become a top 10 player, like, I can't say he won't become a top 10 player. He has the possibility of becoming a top 10 player, so his ceiling has to be in that range. Like, you can't, I don't think you can deny his ceiling being, like, true superstar caliber player, because the stuff he's doing at 20, the last 5 games, and shout out to Kanan with the donation segueing us into our talk about the backcourt. Shout out to him. Always love when your guys' donations segue into different talking points that we wanted to cover. The last 5 games, Eric, for Sharp, here's his point totals. 29, 25, 26, 24, 27. And he's done it shooting at least 45% from the field in every game and shooting at least 37.5% in every game. Assists, he's averaging 5 assists per game in that stretch. Rebounds, he has, let me do the math, 33 in that stretch. So that is 6.6 rebounds per game. So the last 5 games, he's averaging like 26, 6.5, and 5 on good efficiency. That's getting close to superstar level stuff. And that's with him, like, down the stretch of these games kind of disappearing. Now, in the last 5 games, Eric, he's playing heavy minutes. 41 in at least 3 of the 5 games, 39 in 4 of the 5 games. So that's helping him put up a little better numbers. But regardless, like, the impact he's having right now at 20 years of age, this 5-game stretch is phenomenal for a 20-year-old, man. It's kind of absurd what he's doing right now. And I feel like, we're all appreciating it, but we might be taking it for granted. Like, the fact that he's 20 doing what he's doing right now is, when you sit back and really look at it, is really, really crazy.
Yeah, Zarametzer says in chat, not good efficiency, Tori, elite efficiency. And yeah, that was hilarious. He made Tice fall on that crossover. That was funny.
And then he cashed it in. Yeah,
we got to make that when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, here we are once again, 17 shot attempts. And I know we got to the line a bunch, but I want to see him take 20 shots. Like, I want to see what that looks like. But let me...
Speaking of getting to the... Oh, no, go ahead. Never mind. I was looking at threes. Go ahead.
I just want to show something. This doesn't mean he is this player, but we talked about when Sharp was drafted, going into his rookie year, try to put him on the Kobe plan, and he ends up playing and contributing a little more than we probably thought his first year. And then so if you want to compare the two, this doesn't include tonight's game, but through their first 21 games of their second season, Shaden had 18.4 points per game, Kobe 18.1. Rebounds, 5.8 for Shea, 3.6 for Kobe. Assists, 3.5 for Shea, 2.7 for Kobe. Steals were about 1 each. Field goal percentage, 42.4 for Shea, 43.6 for Kobe. And 3-point percentage, 35.9% for Shea, 35.3% for Kobe.
Yeah. So basically...
So he's Kobe. No.
Okay.
No.
Well, here's what I'll say about that, though. What separated Kobe? His work ethic. Like, this dude, like, would be like 6 days a week, 6 hours a day, right? Mm-hmm. Which, at some point, like, you got to have a balance. You can't overwork yourself in the off season. Like, there's a balance between, like, not wearing yourself down and putting in as much work as you can. But Kobe had, like, a legendary work ethic. It's been raved about by multiple players that played with him, coaches, etc. So basically what it is with Shaden Sharp is he'll be as good as he wants to be. If he wants to be a top 75 player of all time, I think he'll be a top 75 player of all time. Of course, he'd love to be...
He said he wanted to be the best player, wasn't
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's one thing to say everybody wants to be Michael Jordan. Shoot, I want to be Michael Jordan, right? Like, you want it if you put the work in. Okay? You don't want it by saying you want it. You want it by working as hard as possible for it. Because a bunch of other people across the league want to be the best ever, right? Now, Shaden has been gifted with a set of tools to be truly, truly special, right? Wingspan, 6'5", 7-foot wingspan, his vertical leap, like, he has tremendous natural gifts. You see greatness when you see natural gifts meet work ethic. Because a lot of players in the league work, but there's a few that work harder than the rest. Right? We played against Kawhi Leonard today. He had a legendary work ethic. That's why he went from the 15th overall pick out of San Diego State in, 2011 to leading teams to championships, to a top 5 to 10 player in the league, right? And so as far as Shane Sharp goes, if he wants to be great, then he'll put in the work to be great. And if he puts in the work to be great, he will be great.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing, I mean, Kobe was just like supreme confidence, like had that killer, like just I don't know, that swagger, like whatever. Like I think I think it's in there somewhere. You have to like let that just pour out of you on the court if you want to be Kobe. I'm not saying he will be. Yeah, alpha is a good word.
Well, how much? Here's the thing. At this point in his second season, like, how much of that Kobe attitude do we see out of Kobe? A little more than we see out of Shaden, for sure. Like, because that was kind of Kobe's disposition from the jump. But I mean, the more confidence he gets, the more. Mm-hmm. But he's also, we're talking about Kawhi. Kawhi's just like silent assassin. I don't think he necessarily has. I don't know. I don't think he necessarily has to be Kobe. He just needs to be aggressive and full confidence. And in more games like this, the closer he'll get to having that true ultra level of unshakable confidence.
To be clear, I'm not saying he will be Kobe or is Kobe or whatever. I'm just saying, like, if we're talking about his ceiling, I think that's like the best possible scenario, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love for him to be Booker, right? Like, you look at what Booker's doing this year. I mean, he's averaging, 27 points a game, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, right? Like, I don't know if Sharp will ever be that level of passer, but, like, Booker coming into the league wasn't looked at as a passer like that. And you look at how many assists per game Booker averaged his second season, 3.4, with 3.1 turnovers. It wasn't any better than Sharp. So that's the fascinating thing with Sharp is, like, at his peak, how much of a scorer plus playmaker for others is he? Because we've seen tremendous growth over the last year plus in his playmaking, him making reads, him making the right passes. During the stretch, he's averaging 5 assists per game in the last 5 games. 6 games ago, he had 6 assists per game. Like, he is making plays at an extremely high level right now. It helps that we've been shooting the ball better, so, like, people are making shots. But, you look at the start of the season when, like, he's playing next to lineups that are utter crap. Like, he's making plays. He's making the right pass. And he had 5 turnovers against Cleveland 5 games ago. Since then, he only has 5 turnovers in the last 4 games. So he's making plays without turning the ball over, which was a little bit of a problem earlier in the year. You remember he had that 10 turnover game against the Lakers, had a 7 turnover game against the Lakers. I guess he just hates playing the Lakers. But he had, some bad turnover issues last year. You're starting to see him, like, really control the game from both aspects of making plays for others and scoring the ball without turning the ball over. And when you look at how rough some of his turnovers were last year, like, not to, jump off the Sharp wagon too early, because I love talking about Shane Sharp right now, but you look at Scoot and some of the bad turnovers he's had, and you look at how Sharp has, it's not perfect yet, but in year 2 has cleaned up some of the stuff where he was turning over the ball. Like, I expect Scoot to clean that up in the same way. Like, that's why I wasn't panicking too much with some of Scoot's turnovers, is because we saw it with Sharp. Now Sharp, last 5 games, he has 20 assists and 5 turnovers. That's 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. You'll take that from a dude scoring the ball the way he's scoring it right now.
Yeah, his first assist, so he's got Kawhi on him, takes him down a little bit, and I think it was Ty said to come over and help, and he put a perfect bounce pass right into Moses Brown's hand for an easy lay-in. And just that is really nice to see. Just really good high-level reads like that, and putting it right on the money to a diving player down the middle through traffic and a really good defender on you. So yeah, really encouraging stuff. My only concern with Sharp right now, I'm worried about his hands. He fumbles and he almost had 2 putback dunks tonight, and he just didn't grab the ball. And he had one in the first half where he curled, was wide open in the middle of the key, Ant passed him the ball, and it just went right through his hands for a turnover. Like he's like losing the ball too much. I don't know if he's like taking his eye off it like a receiver does sometimes, thinking about what you're doing before you catch it. Maybe that's it, but he seems to have trouble catching the ball a lot.
I'll say this, Ant's pass had a lot of zip on it. Like, Ant threw that pass freaking hard, if it's the play that I'm talking about. In the putback dunk, like, I think somebody hit his arm or hit the ball, like, it was congested, so I kind of understand that. Like,
But he does that all the time. Like, it's almost every time he goes up, he like jumps way up in the air, and his hands are like right there, the ball's right in his hands, and it just like fumbles out of him.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, we've talked about how it's been a congested paint all year. Like, it is harder to secure the ball going up in traffic with more bodies around you, more bigs around you, more contact being made. Like, I don't think he's gotten a friendly whistle so far this year until he's gone on this stretch. Like, as of late, he's gotten a better whistle. He had 9 free throws today. Like, he should be getting 8 free throws a game. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason for him not to get 8 free throws a game. If he gets... Imagine him with a star call. With the star call is freaking 10 free throws a game. Like, the way he drives, when he's aggressive, it's so hard to stop him without fouling him. Like, and he doesn't even know a lot of the tricks that, like, other guys know. He's starting to kind of do some stuff. Like, he tried to get a 3. He actually hit it, too. Tried to get a 3 off a foul. I think it was Paul George. Kind of grabbed his shoulder and he tried to go up with it. Like, he's starting to do some like craftier veteran stuff to draw fouls, but still scratching the surface from him just being a guy that lives at the foul line. Hands, I don't know. Like, I'm not worried about his hands. Like, could they be better? Sure, but I think it's fine.
Yeah, and just so chat's clear, I'm not saying like I'm worried about it or whatever. He just fumbles the ball a lot. But he needs to, if he develops that like rip through that Paul George got, was it Rethon, the one we challenged, he's got to, if he can do that and we're like in the bonus and he can get some cheap, fouls, I think Anthony needs to do that too. It'd be nice. Cause there was that stretch where he went to the line a bunch, but yeah.
Simon's 13 free throws today. Going into this game, I mean, the 3 games prior to this, he's averaging 4 free throws a game, right? His highest career average is 2.9 free throws a game last year, right? So it was already up. But after this game, that's 20. Let's see, that's 25 free throws. Somebody in chat said he's 22 for 22 from the free throw line. He's actually 25 for 25. So in 4 games, he has 25 free throws, Eric. That is, over 6 a game. So we talked about Ant becoming a star by getting to the free throw line more, and like Sharp getting to the free throw line more. Like, these guys shot 22 combined free throws, or 20 for 22 from the free throw line.
Yeah,
like that's phenomenal stuff. And here's the thing: you start to enter star territory when you're able to get free throws at the rate that Sharp and Simons got free throws at today. But then also, like, regarding Simons, did you see how much help defenders, off-ball defenders, were reacting to him today?
Oh, it was crazy. He was getting doubled before he even made his move sometimes.
Yeah, they were. That's the thing when we talk about, like, shot quality, like Simons didn't get as good shots. They were defending him like he was freaking Dame a lot of times. Like, there was a couple breakdowns they had, but when he drove, like, I was just watching guys off the ball guarding the corners. They were like almost sprinting into the paint. How many wide open shots did we get because Ant kicked out where we didn't make it, or somebody made another pass, like we made an extra pass and got a decent shot out of it? Like, Ant today only 4 assists, it does not do him justice in regards to the offense he helped generate. Like, his drives, just the way they were reacting to his drives was freaking fascinating to watch, because they were reacting like he was a star. And today, 38 points, 10 for 23 from the field. Like, that's not super efficient. Like, he goes 5 for 11 from 3. That's great. That's over 40%, right? He's 5 for 12 inside the arc, which is mid-40s. Like, that's not the greatest. But here's the thing, Eric. A lot of those drives he got to the free throw line. You have to take that into consideration when you look at, like, 2-point percentage and his efficiency as a whole. He had 38 points on 23 shots.
Yeah. That's going to come into play with someone else in a minute. Yeah, I mean, I think our 3-point percentage, no, we're 19 for 40, 47.5%. I mean, there's a reason why that we're getting, I feel like, obviously at the end of this game, when the defense tightened up and we were going ISO heavy, we didn't get the greatest quality shots. But I felt like the first 3.5 quarters, there's a reason why we're getting higher quality shots than we've gotten all season. And especially against teams like the Clippers, who have had our number, they still get the victory tonight. But, we've lost, 13 out of the last 14 or 12 out of the last 13 against them or something like that. But we always struggle to score against them. And I felt like tonight, just because of Ant's gravity, and Sharp, when he started getting calls and stuff, he was getting a little bit of that too. And I felt like that really contributed to some of the other guys getting really good looks. You're muted.
I thought we could have done a better job getting Ant good shots by running him off the ball a little bit more.
Hey, do you want to run my breakdown?
Yeah, if you got it. I'll load it up right now. But, I mean, he took a lot of tough shots today. 10 for 23, getting to the free throw line 13 times. Like, he had an efficient night simply because, like, a lot of plays that he made, he got to the free throw line on, which is the most efficient play when you're shooting 13 for 13 from the free throw line, right? Like, every time he goes to the free throw line, we're scoring 2 points. Or it's an and one, and we're scoring 3 points. So it's the most efficient play.
We had a 6-point play.
Yes, had an and 1 3. Yeah, that you hit the free throw on.
That's actually my play.
All right, yeah. Well, I will load it up here. It's been a minute since we've had a good old Brant breakdown. Let's see here. Play number 1. I'm gonna have to download it.
And I was while you're doing that, I was just watching
actually.
Sharp's assists.
Yeah.
And so several of them were just simply he drew the defense and they forgot about Ant for a second, or Ant just got a slightly better look than he did. And then I forgot about when Kamara hit the 3 towards the end with about 6 minutes left. Great kick out by Sharp. Perfect, right on the money.
Here's the play we got.
All right, so Tori,
yeah.
I had to do this. I know we haven't done it much lately, but we had a set out of bounds play, and it was one of the best plays I've ever seen Chauncey run. Okay, so we often do this where we'll lob it up to someone at the high post there off the inbound.
Yeah, and
Stotts used to do this play too, but it's like with another big who would seal underneath, and the person would catch it and dump it right into someone around the basket, and they try to score. So we have this play, and it looks like Scoot's going to come off a curl and get the ball, right? But he doesn't. And in the second shot, you see that Anthony throws it out to Jabari, and all the defenders are up looking, right? Except for George has to focus on Simons. But the other 2 defenders are looking at the ball, and there's some action going on. It looks like they're maybe screening for each other, but then they turn and screen for Anthony, And look how much space they get here because Norm's not paying attention, and Reese kind of picks off one of them, and Scoot does a good job on George there, and Anthony just comes cleaner off a screen than I've ever seen watching the Blazers recently, and I thought Anthony actually went too far, like because he went all the way to where Kobe could step up and defend that shot.
Jabari has to throw the pass faster.
Right.
Yeah.
But so like I don't know, it was like weird. Like they couldn't decide if they were gonna pass it or hand it off or what. But this is awesome. Like you said, a double screen off an inbounder, and it results in the hottest shooter on our team at the time, like getting a wide open three. Like holy crap! Like, and then yeah, like Eric Olson says in chat. Scoot's setting pretty good screens for a guard because he's got that low center of gravity. But if you had Sharp here in that Scoot position, when they start to jump out on Anthony, he could cut back door, or Reith could set a back screen for Sharp instead of the double screen, and maybe that turns into a lob from Walker there to Sharp instead. So there are some wrinkles you can do out of this, but I was like, I've been so disappointed with our lack of out of bounds and out of timeout plays. And I just thought this was a great play. And I was like, where the heck did this come from? And I had to show it.
Yeah. What's funny is this is actually a very basic play. It's just
right. Yeah.
A lot of guys in Scoot's position will go out corner. Right. So he like weaves back in. So Norm has to respect him potentially cutting to the hoop, which means he's not ready to deal with the screen. So it's just like little creative ways to make screeners threats is how you get guys open. Golden State is the best team, and I talk about their system all the time, but they're the best team of like making it so that their screener is a threat either before or after the screen. So you have to respect the screener. So you can't help as much onto the shooter, right? And then the thing is with Golden State, like when you got Steph Curry running off screens, right? Like, and if you're guarding the screener, they overreact. Screener slips it, goes back door. They do a really good job reading that. Like, and when you have a guy like Draymond at the top of the key, it makes it even better given that he's a really good passer. But that's where I'm talking about. Like, you got Sharp and Simons. You got to figure out a way to play those guys off each other, especially with Sharp's ability to catch lobs. Like, that's the one thing in our offense I don't think we do a good job of at all, is like we don't make it so that screeners can get good shots if they overload the guy coming off the screen. Mm-hmm. Right? Or we don't make it so that Scoot here with him curling around with the ball being like a baseline inbounds, like Norm's worried about him catching the ball here and having a layup.
Yeah.
Because he's curling over the top, right? Like, So you do have Tice there. It is a little jumbled, but that's why this works, is because Norm's there. If Norm switches, like, they're fine. If Norm is ready for this, he's fine. But he's worried about Scoot. Because Scoot is a little bit of a threat curling back in. You got to make screeners respectable.
If you look at the second picture, though, they're almost double screening Norm, though, knowing that he can't jump out. And then Scoot just steps in front of George right after this, and it creates enough space. But that's what happens, though. You got to read where Tice is as well, because if Tice is sagging off like he does on this play, and you pick off both Norm and George, even if it's just for a second, Anthony's got the quick release. We're good. If Tice is playing up further and not in the paint, that's when you can incorporate some of those things that you were talking about.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, this play is actually an example of, like, why I have been down on Chauncey, is I don't think he does enough creative stuff offensively. And that's the thing, is like down the stretch in this game, how much of it was just kind of we're standing around and go make a play. Which in the NBA, I understand, like, you make your playmakers make plays, but it's like you got to try and help him out. Or, here's the thing, Eric, with how quick he shoots the three ball and how good of a shooter he is, as he continues to build this reputation of being a star scorer, because I think he's in the process of building that, you got to use the attention he has coming off screens to try and free guys up.
Yep.
Like, that's the thing with Sharp and with Simons. Like, these guys can be so deadly off of screens, but you can also open up so many easy shots for guys like Ayton, guys like Grant. There's no reason that shouldn't be a top 10 offense. There is absolutely zero reason it should not be, because you got two guards playing an all-star caliber level right now that are good on and off the ball if used correctly. You got to be able to leverage that attention that defenses will ultimately be forced to give them into quality shots for other players. So, that's where I think we can improve systemically in regards to how we run things. And I think it just comes down to like the creativity in our sets, in our set actions, and then being able to freelance a little bit and like know how to play off each other. Because that's the thing with Golden State. Like their, offense when they were winning championships, it was like it transitioned stuff that wasn't even necessarily scripted, but they knew how to play off each other in that way. And they had, they'd run a lot of split action. They'd run some creative like double screen stuff, just like that inbounds, but it wouldn't even be scripted. They just knew what to do. So yeah. That's where you can unlock, and that's like this guard core going forward. That's why I think Ant and Sharp can be so freaking deadly, is because they both can shoot, they both can drive, they're both athletic, they both can play on and off the ball.
And towards the end of the game, it's not really going to work with Reith or Thibault or Kamara or anything, but you run that action that it's almost... I almost feel like at times Golden State has this designed, even though it seems like a freelance thing. But they clear one side, and they have like a dribble handoff between Draymond and Steph or whatever. And Draymond goes, and then he fakes the handoff and spins, and he's wide open, and there's no one between him and the basket. I almost feel like at times tonight when they're so overplaying or trying to press up on Anthony so he doesn't get a good look, like you can almost just fool them and either send someone backdoor or set a back screen on the backside or just do that fake handoff spin. Nurk used to do that a couple times a game, or not necessarily a game, but every once in a while. And I just like kind of like bring that into the fold a little bit, like almost say, hey, if your guy jumps this or plays over the top on the handoff and makes it tough for the handoff, just spin to the opposite side of where he's jumping to, and you might have a clear path right to the basket.
Yeah. So I love this backcourt, the way they played tonight. Like, we haven't talked about Scoot yet. This was Scoot's best game of the season, I think. 3 for 4 from 3. Like, I guess he's just going to be streaky from game to game because he either makes no threes or makes at least 2, it seems like. And he felt confident today in a way we hadn't seen yet. You know what I mean? Like, something felt different about him. And he played more sure of himself. And did you notice, like, last stream I talked about, he needs to start playing at, like, slower speeds more effectively. And there were a couple of moments in this game where he played at slower speeds effectively. Mm-hmm. Like, he had that shot in the paint where he kind of slowed down. Like, he was more under control. He still had 3 turnovers, but 6 assists, 2-to-1 assist-turnover ratio. Like, that is good, considering he might have more turnovers than assists, I'm not sure, on this season. So 6 assists, 3 turnovers, but like 8 for 16 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3. Efficient night for him. He's a plus 11 team high. I wanted him to finish this freaking game because it's not like we were going to stop him anyway. It's not like we were going to stop the Clippers, and he doesn't play the last, 6 minutes of the game when he was playing really good. I thought that was a wasted developmental opportunity, and I thought it was a wasted opportunity to maybe win this game. I did not like that Chauncey sat Scoot for the last 5.5 minutes of this game. Was not a fan of it because this was Scoot's best game in my opinion. He looked good. He looked good tonight.
It's just so tough without Jeremy Ayton not that the guys we played in much, but our defense is just really tough with the personnel we have right now playing the 3 guards for long periods of time. But I also agree with you. Like, what does it matter? We lost anyway. Like, might as well have Scoot on the court for that.
I mean, yeah, it's like we we are a mess late in games anyway. Might as well give Scoot the opportunity to play close crunch time minutes when he's playing well.
Yeah.
So, I thought Scoot was mixed bag defensively. He had some good plays though. Blocked a couple shots. Like got a couple deflections. Right. So, he played more under control. He did have a turnover where he basically just lost his dribble, gave it to the defense, right? Like, he's still probably going to have those turnovers, and then 5 fouls tonight. Maybe Chauncey didn't want him worried about fouling out and then playing bad defense down the stretch. Maybe that came into it, but this was the best game I've seen him play, and it was the best game not just because he hit some jump shots, but he just had a different level of confidence. And I feel like this was the first game where he felt some level of control as a point guard.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to be negative, but I feel like he's not a point guard. No, I just feel like he's not a point guard. Like, not yet. Like, I don't know. Like, he's not comfortable playing off ball either, but, like, I don't know. I feel like he really struggles trying to set other people up. He's better with the ball when he's looking to score himself and pulling up and stuff. But I just feel like he's just a little too out of control with the ball to be like a point guard. I thought that one turnover was pretty bad.
I mean, it's one play.
Yeah, I know.
It's one play. Like, he was in control today like a point guard is. Like, that's my point about today, is this was the first game where he, like, looked like a bit of a floor general, where he looked like he was able to exert some level of control offensively.
Yeah, I felt like it was because he hit some of those shots that he hadn't been hitting. He started off the game shooting really well, that it allowed him those opportunities.
I mean,
they started
five
playing
shots
up on
inside the arc, had 6 assists, three turnovers. Like, I don't know. Like, it looked like he was more in control. He wasn't trying to rush everything. In the past, in this entire season, and this is what I talked about recently, like, everything he did was rushed. Everything he did was, I got to play at 100 miles an hour in order to accomplish anything offensively. I have to... if I'm going to beat my man, I have to beat him with speed. Even like a layup he missed, where he like used his body and got a left-handed layup off in the paint. Like, maybe it was a tough shot, but it was promising to see him, kind of use his body, put his body into the defender, and get a layup off without having to beat him with speed, or without trying to beat him with speed. Because everything he's been doing was rushed. And there was a couple opportunities in transition where it seemed like he might have had a sliver of space that he could try and hit, where I feel like earlier in the season he would have absolutely tried to hit that as fast as possible and turned over the ball, and he realized it was too risky or too tough and backed the ball out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And, like, nobody's going to think much of that. Like, okay, the play wasn't there, he backed the ball out, so what? But he did a good job balancing his aggression with picking his spots in this game, because there was multiple times where I was like, yeah, you probably would have drove that at the start of the year, turned the ball over, gotten stuck, right? Maybe we would have been bailed out if he, like, jumped past and, like, threw it back to half court as players are running down. Like, there's just multiple times in this game where I thought he made the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he slowed down a bit more, and I thought this was his best games in terms of not being rushed. And he had 6 turnovers, 3 assists. Like, he made the right pass a lot of times. Like, this...
you said the opposite. Tonight. You said 6 turnovers, 3 assists.
6 assists, 3 turnovers. Yeah, 6 assists, 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
I'll take a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio in a game like this. He made the right play.
Well,
like, his handle still has to get a little better. His hands still have to get a little bit better. Mm-hmm. I don't think that makes him not a point guard. I think the key to him being an effective point guard is the whole mental side of it, figuring that part out, because I think the comfortability with the ball will follow.
Yeah, well, I mean, 2 of his assists, the Clippers just didn't guard someone, and he just dribbled up and passed to someone at the 3-point line. One was the Thibault, one was the Sharp. No one within 10 feet of them, wide open. Good to recognize that, but I don't think that was like him creating or anything like that. Another was when he pushed it up the court, gave it to Jabari, and no one guarded him. He just went and laid it in. Fourth assist was a handoff to Jabari, who hit a three tonight. Good job, Jabari. You finally hit a three. Been a while. Um, so I don't know if he was necessarily like creating that much. He had one nice kick out to Sharp, who didn't shoot the three, took a dribble in, still counted as an assist. But I don't know if his assists were necessarily like tonight.
Okay, now do good passes where players miss shots.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that happens too. But tonight, I mean, we're almost 50% from three, so there weren't a ton of misses from three. But I mean, I thought he played really well. Yeah, I'm not trying to poop on him or anything. I'm just saying, like, I do feel like it was more just he got his confidence because he made some shots and got going. He makes his first three shots.
That definitely helps. But I thought he was most in control this game than any other game all season.
Yeah, for sure.
So, he wasn't as rushed, and that's the key.
I don't think he had a charge in this game.
Exactly.
That's always a problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Like he was not. He's been playing rushed. He's been trying to play too quick. He finally slowed down, and you hear about rookies or young players talk about things start to click and the game starts to slow down for them. I think it might be a situation where Scoot needs to slow himself down. Not that the game is necessarily moving too fast, that he's trying to make it move too fast. Because I think he can read the floor. Like, we saw it in the G League. We've seen he has good court vision. The problem is, a lot of times it's hard to read the floor when you're going 200 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, try taking a sharp turn in your car going 70. Can't do it. If you slow down, it's easier to take that turn. It's the same thing running the point guard position. Now, the best playmakers can make plays at full speed, but Scoot was never going to come in at 19, beat everybody in the NBA with his speed, and then be able to, like, consistently take care of the ball, be in control, make the right play at that level of breakneck speed at 19 in the NBA. Like, it was just unrealistic. He did it in the G League, but it's the G League. Yeah. So that's what I was talking about last stream, is like he needs to slow down. He needs to learn how to change pace. It'll give him more time to make reads. It'll allow him to be in more control. The thing is, you know, if you're able to blow past somebody, like, yeah, you get past them, so you accomplish the getting past them part. You got to figure out ways to get past people without having to go 100% speed. You got to find ways to be shifty, use a hesitation to get guys leaning forward, and then it's easier to beat them without accelerating to full speed. And I thought today was the start of him hopefully beginning to do that, because I thought today, that's what I was looking for, because I talked about it last postgame show. So I love the way he played. I love the way that he slowed down in this game. I think that is the key for him, to slow down, try and read the game, try not to play too fast, learn how to use his body a little bit more on finishes, watch more Malcolm Brogdon highlights, right? Like,
yeah.
So that I love this game, not just because, like, statistically this was his best game. I think in terms of style of play, offensively, it was his best game.
Yeah, for sure. I just still worry about, like, cause all three turnovers were just him losing the ball off the dribble, and yeah. So, but yeah, I mean,
Sharp Sharp would have games where he'd have three.
Oh yeah,
of
of course.
Too. That's where it's like I'm not worried about. That's what I was talking. That's what I was talking about with Sharp. Like, he's cleaned that up. Scoot will clean that up.
Yeah, for sure. But Scoot is supposed to be like more advanced point guard than Sharp was. Sharp was a shooter / scorer that needed to eventually learn how to dribble if he was going to evolve.
Yeah, but Scoot already is a more advanced than Sharp was this time last year. More advanced point guard.
Yeah, maybe. I
mean,
know.
Sharp was averaging like half an assist a game.
Yeah, in that regard, of course, yes. But Scoot's been playing point guard his whole life. Sharp was never a point guard. Like,
so? Yeah, I mean, Scoot is closer to being a point guard at this point in his rookie season than Sharp was at this point in Sharp's rookie season. Like, Sharp, it was like, oh my goodness, he had an assist today.
Yeah,
12 games last year, it was, oh my goodness, he has assists today. Like, Scoot has 6 assists today, and we're sitting here like, oh, well, actually, it was just on, like, basic plays where it was, like, more the other guy.
I don't get that, because Scoot was thought of as this, like, number one pick point guard. Of course he's going to be more of a point guard than someone who's not.
Yeah, I mean, we just got to start analyzing Scoot for what he is, not what
No,
people
I know, but like he's
said
been
he
a
was
point
gonna
guard his whole life. Like Sharp's never played point guard. I don't know. I don't know what
be. Yeah,
why he'd be compared to someone who's not a point guard.
well, I don't
That's like
think you.
saying Jabari Walker can't dribble as good as Scoot. Like, yeah, no.
I mean, here's
Okay.
the thing: CJ was a point guard all his career, for the most part. Like, he was more of a scorer, but like he handled the ball all the time at Lehigh, right? Coming into the league, like his handle was really bad. Guess what? It got better. Like, he figured out his handle. Like, Scoot will figure out his handle too. Like, I'm not worried about that really. Like,
Yeah.
and the thing is like he'll learn how to slow down his dribble, right? Like, I think a lot of times he like dribbles a little too quick when he doesn't need to, dribbles a little low, like he doesn't hang the ball in his hand a little bit. Like, there's certain ways to moving with his dribble that I think he'll figure out. Like, I'm not worried about his ball handling. Like, yes, there's some rough moments right now and the turnovers are that, but like I'd almost rather see that than like him turning over the ball because he's like not reading the floor. I think the problems with reading the floor this season has mostly come when he gets too sped up, so he'll slow down, and then the ball handling stuff can be fixed. Like, the ball handling stuff can be worked on.
Yeah.
So long term, I think it bodes well.
All right.
This is like 2 streams ago, but flipped.
No, I know, but like I don't understand. Okay. Because we have people in the beginning like, see, you guys were wrong or whatever.
Which is funny because I've preached patience on him all year. Like,
But it doesn't make like everything we said in the post game. Like, you can't say that we weren't saying accurate things about it, like, or criticizing accurate things, right? Like, we're actually breaking down his game and saying what we were concerned about. And he showed some things tonight that maybe get you hyped the other way. That's fine. But like, I'm not calling you out, Garben, but people who say he's 100% legit, he's like, there's zero reason to worry. Like, it's you shouldn't be like saying he's a complete bust right now, like you said, patience. But you also shouldn't be saying it's 100% guaranteed that he's going to be good, because like neither side can say that right now. Anyone saying one extreme or the other is just wrong. Like, you can guess that it'll be like that, but no one is 100% clear either way, good or bad, right now about it.
I mean, that's the whole point with Scoot is, we don't know what he is. We don't know what he's going to be. Like,
Right.
The problem is when you sit up here, because I said all season until the last postgame show, I said, I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about him. People just need to be patient. Here's why he's struggling. Like, here's why he'll get better. I'm not worried about him. Blah, 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 blah. Then last stream, I'm like, I mean, I'm slightly worried about him. Like, his last game was pretty bad. And it was just like, man, like, I'm a little worried, but still gonna be patient, still think like he'll figure it out, like whatever. But because I said I'm slightly worried, people take that as me saying like, oh yeah, he can't do things, he can't have a good game, he can't do this. So then when he has a good game, it's like, see, you were worried, why were you worried, idiot? Like, I'm not saying he can't do anything. I'm not gonna limit Scoop from doing anything, right? Like, talking about what he's struggling with, right? Is completely fair game, because look at him statistically. Even after a game like this, he's still struggling statistically on the season. He's obviously struggling with stuff, but the thing is there's a difference between like, oh, he's struggling, he's a bust, see, he's not gonna be good, time to trade him, and like, he's a 19-year-old rookie point guard who was a little bit overhyped, which isn't his own fault, and he's gonna struggle as a 19-year-old rookie point guard, and he has a lot of things to figure out. Of course, I'm going to be slightly worried after a start like this that, like, man, what if he doesn't? Like, that doubt always creeps in, especially when you're talking about the Portland Trailblazers. They've had a ton of busts in their past, right? Like, we've been conditioned to, at times, expect the worst, right? So it was just frustrating. People here, like, a couple people saying, like, see, you were hard on him last game. Like, man, I've been more fair to him than the majority of our fan base, it seems like I see on Twitter, guys that were optimistic going into the start of the season, and I see them on Twitter saying, Scoot's the worst player in the league. I can't stand watching him. Get him off my team. Like, going off about him. I've been the one sitting here preaching patience, preaching, what I think it is that he's struggling with and why he'll get better. And I mean, a game like this is like he hit some threes. I was the one last game who said, yes, that I was worried, but also that he will play better if he slows down and stops trying to play at 100 miles an hour today. And then today, I thought he did his best game of doing that. And coincidentally, he has his best game as a pro. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very clear. Like, there's certain things he needs to work on. I feel like, I'm not sitting here to pat my own back. I'm just saying, I feel like I've done a good job of calling what he needs to improve on this year. Like, I feel like I've tried my best to explain what I think he needs to improve on. And I feel like we've seen some improvement in those areas. I think the main thing is pace. The main thing is being able to play at different speeds and being able to slow down, because then he'll be able to read the floor. The other thing, obviously, is the 3-point ball to get people to respect his shot, because then it's easier to drive. Like, this isn't hard stuff to figure out. So that's why I think everybody overreacting to his struggles early on, we're being silly, because it's very clear why he was struggling to me. And it's clearly stuff that can get better and can improve. Maybe they'll never be 100% consistent, and maybe he'll never be a star because of that. But they're definitely going to improve, and the dude's freaking 19 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's funny, though. Like, he hits his first 3 shots, and all of a sudden it's like, we're idiots or something. Like, that's how I felt like some people were treating it on Twitter.
It's just people are prisoner of the moment, man. They're waiting for anything to put over. You can never say you worry about a guy or a guy's struggling.
Yeah. On defense, though, have you ever like tweaked your back?
Yes.
And your reaction, the whole like hold your back and you like kind of stand straight up and stretch it out,
Yeah.
Scoot does that every time he gets screened on defense, and it's like he gets stood up and he just like acts like he got hit, and so he's definitely got to work on that. He's gotta find a way to get through screens. He just like runs right into the screen and stands straight up every time. It's like driving me crazy.
Yeah, it was the same way in the J League last year too. Like, coming into the league, that was something to work on. Like, people were expecting him to be like a positive defender as a rookie, and it's like he has to learn how to get through screens better, man, and he has to learn how not to foul. Like, there's a lot to learn defensively, especially when you're guarding guards and you don't have the length, which can make up for some, if you don't have perfect footwork. If you're 6'8" with a 7'2" wingspan, like, that's fine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can have an easier time just simply going under screens because you can get back and contest the shot. Like, when you're his size, it makes every little footwork thing and like how you position yourself, pushing the physicality on the ball defensively to the edge but not crossing it, it makes all that stuff even more crucial, which makes defenders like him, it makes it for more of a learning curve because they can't just make up for it with elite length and size. So he was never going to come in and be like a great defensive player right away. And this year I've said, like, for a rookie, like for him, like I'm been okay with his defense. So people are saying like, man, but he's been bad. Like, he hasn't been getting through screens and that. And it's like, I'm not disagreeing with that. That should be expected. Like, if he was 7 years into the league, I would not be saying I'm happy with his defense. But as a rookie, the standard's a little different because there's a lot for him still to learn that ultimately, if he puts the work in, if he's coachable, all that good stuff, he'll learn it.
Yeah.
When one of those is proper footwork and being able to get through screens, because he sucks at navigating them right now.
2 things I want to read off in chat. Eric Olson says, Scoot said in the pregame interview about his speed. I've known I've had that ability since middle school, but now it's about learning how to use it, playing with change of pace and stuff. Bravo, man. If he's recognizing that and knows that he needs to do that, that's really encouraging. I think that's a really good sign.
Yeah. But what was I talking about last post-game show, Eric? I was wrong.
Okay. And then let me read something else. Koopa says, apparently Scoot had to average 15 and 8 from day one to not be disappointing. It's on y'all for having crazy expectations. Okay.
Is y'all chat, or is y'all, who's y'all here? Who's y'all in
Okay,
this scenario? Because y'all could mean
for
anyone. I'm not gonna respond because
first of
who
all,
knows who y'all means, Eric.
well,
Who knows who?
just for the record, I didn't expect Scoot to score much this year. Like I, I don't know. I wasn't really I didn't expect him to shoot, or I didn't expect for him to be as bad as he is inside the arc. Um, and but like I thought he should just come in and run the offense and get assists. So I didn't think 8 assists was crazy to think that he could do this season. But I wasn't saying like he has to average 8 assists or expecting him to do it. I'd be encouraged if he did come in. And remember, at the beginning of the season, he was starting and playing a lot more minutes. So you have to remember that he was a major part. He wasn't just coming off the bench and playing and getting taken out. He was playing almost the whole game. And but yeah, I've never had any sort of statistical expectations for Scoot. My thing has always been more of a just how does he look? Does it feel like he could be the point guard of the future and all that kind of stuff? And I don't think we have the answer yet. It's still hopeful that he will be, but I've never had expectations that Scoot had to be like an all-star this year or something. Like that's crazy.
When was the last rookie to average 8 assists a game? Is my question.
I don't know. Like how much
Like,
did LeBron and Chris Paul and
yeah, I'll look up Chris Paul because like 8 assists a game is anybody who expected 8 assists plus. I feel like that was unrealistic because I don't know. I don't even think Chris Paul, like Luka Doncic, didn't average 8 a game. I don't think Chris Paul his rookie year averaged 7.8 and played 36 minutes a game. So even Chris Paul didn't average 8 assists a game as a rookie. Luka averaged as a rookie, he averaged 6. But then next year he averaged almost 9. So there's a jump there.
A lot of these players, though, I mean, I Luka did, but I don't know. I feel like Scoot was I don't know, a lot of point guards don't have like an Anthony and Anthony gets hurt, so it's different. But Anthony, Sharp, Grant, like those level scorers to pass to either right away.
Still, it's like rookie hasn't done it since I don't know when. I don't even know if a rookie's ever done it. So yeah, like I expected him to be a better floor general than this, though. I don't think that's unfair to expect him to be better than he's been so far. Mm-hmm. I think some people had unrealistic expectations, but that's why it's like, can't be talking to me because I was the one saying like people are going to have to be patient. I'm worried like there's a legitimate chance he's going to struggle and people are overhyping him. And then when he doesn't meet their insane expectations, like then they're going to be down on him. Or then they're going to be disappointed. And, like, everybody's been kind of disappointed with Scoot so far this season. Like, given how he's played, like, most people have been disappointed because he didn't meet realistic expectations going into the season. Mm-hmm. But it's also not something that should be, like, shocking that he's struggling. Like, I think people shouldn't be as surprised as maybe they are.
People are saying Trae Young averaged 8.1 his rookie year.
Well, there you go. There's one rookie.
Well, and two, I mean, we've talked about this a lot with Dame too. I think Scoot needs a lob target big as well.
Yeah. The thing is like Trae Young came in and was their lead guard right away, right? Like you do have more talented scorers, but you have more ISO scorers. Like Trae Young's rookie season, they just gave him the ball and just literally like let him just run everything and sink or swim, basically. Like I think the Hawks were pretty damn bad that year, if I recall, 2018, 2019. With Ant, with Jeremy, with Sharp, like they're guys that a lot of times you're just gonna give the ball to him, get out of the way. So it's not like he's gonna have that sort of floor general role anyway. Like if he was on a worse team, like maybe the added reps maybe would make it better. I don't know. Like regardless, people need a. I understand why people were worried about Scoot with how he started the season. You don't have to. You can understand somebody's point of view without agreeing with it. By the way, which is really hard on the internet, but I can understand why somebody was worried about him. I can also understand why somebody is completely not worried about him and still thinks he's going to be great because it's 12, 13 games in. Both are valid viewpoints. Like, it's not even something where I've ever even, like, gave somebody too much crap other than people saying, like, he's for sure something, because that's the one thing we don't know is we don't know what he is. So.
Yeah. Yep. But positive things to build on tonight. You got a couple days off, and hopefully on Thursday he keeps showing more.
Yeah, absolutely. People gotta be patient with Scoot. We just can't be prisoner of the moment, honestly, is really what it is. So, Scoot, I think will be fine. I think this was a really good game to see out of him against a team that is a tough team to score against. A lot of length. Like, the fact that he said that in his pregame makes me confident that he either knows what he needs to work on or has somebody that's telling him the right things to work on. And yeah, man, it's I don't know. Like, it's definitely something that I thought he needed to improve, because that's the problem, is he's playing too fast. Like, clearly that's the problem in a lot of areas. And if he learns how to change pace and also starts hitting shots, then he'll be on his road to, stardom, maybe, hopefully. The thing is, with our backcourt, though, like, it's been long-term, you have to choose between the three. Seeing a game like this, it's like, why can't we just have those three in a three-guard lineup? Yeah. And, like, occasionally play them together and get them all, like, 35 minutes a game. Like, if you run a three-guard lineup and play them all evenly and play them all at the point guard or shooting guard spots, you're playing each 32 minutes a game. So if you play every player 35 minutes a game, that's like 9 minutes for Sharp at small forward. Like, 9 of his 35 minutes have to come at small forward. I think if you do it at the right times in the game, I think you can get away with that. And that lineup long-term could be insanely offensively potent. I don't know if we have to necessarily pick between a guard. Like, I'm just curious, if all three of these guys pan out, can they be on the same team? How can that work optimally?
Well, that's what I was hoping for, but you were more, you had to trade one eventually, right?
I mean, it just depends. If you're able to surround, like, that's what I was thinking. Like, if Simons and Sharp are really this good, and you're able to surround them with the right front court, and you have Scoot off the bench playing 34 minutes a game, and, like, when he's in the game, he's a star caliber player, like, why can't that work?
Well, you need the right 4 and 5. I've been saying
that's
that
what it comes down to.
I've been saying that the whole time, like the last decade plus. You need the right 4 or 5. And
but that's
we don't have it right now, and they're still almost winning games in LA against a healthy Clippers team, for the most part, with them trying to figure it out and all that kind of stuff. With Duop Reith and Moses Brown as their center, like, and Chauncey as their coach. Like, they're still kind of figuring it out. I mean, see, ideally, you have Anthony and Sharp spacing the floor with their gravity, and you have Scoot getting into the paint and able to hit floaters and mid-range jumpers and stuff. And then you ask yourself, how do you stop that if you have, like, a lob target underneath center and, like, a slasher type? Like, that seems like, I don't know, like it could work, but I don't know.
I mean, basically you just need the option to play 2 of the 3 guys late in a close game if you need extra defense out there, and you need that extra defense on the roster so you can pivot to a more well-balanced lineup. Or if you're playing from behind, you play, the 3 guards and you play an offensively potent lineup. Like, you just have to have the versatility to throw out different styles of lineups dependent upon the team you're playing and dependent upon the situation. You got to be able to adjust to one or the other when the time calls for it. So that's kind of the key, right? Like, you're probably not going to finish every game with all 3 players playing. If all 3 are all-star caliber players, then it's like, it'd be hard not to, but that's where, in the end, regardless of if we pick 2 of them or keep all 3 of them, it's going to come down to you're probably going to have to find a star in the front court. And or you're going to have to find like insanely impactful defenders that can also do something offensively in the front court. Like a Jaren Jackson Jr., something like that, right? If you can find those players, I think if you pick 2 or if you keep all 3, you're contending. So in the end, like, it just comes down to the front court. Like, I don't even think necessarily, I know you kind of disagreed at the start of the year, but I don't even think Portland, like, needs Scoot to pan out the way they were hoping. Because even if he does, like, you're still going to need that. You're still going to need that front court. It just comes down to how they build over the next 3-4 years, and then obviously you need 2 of the 3 to develop into hopefully star caliber players. The thing is, I'm feeling pretty optimistic after a game like this that at least 2 of these 3 guys will be all-star players like 3 years from now. You know? Like, this game makes me a little bit more bullish on that possibility.
My concern, I guess, would just be the missed opportunity to add a piece around Sharp and if
but
Scoot isn't a star. I don't know.
But here's the thing is, like, Scoot's trade value is probably going to go up if he develops properly, right? Like, if he doesn't develop properly, then he's a 6th-man guard, right? Mm-hmm. And then it actually, like, makes sense, because you got your 2 stars, and then you got your 6-man guard who, like, is like a Markelle Fultz, high draft pick that didn't really pan out quite to that level, right? But, like, you're fine with that. In the end, you just got to find the right front court. Because those 3 guys, I think, are very interesting complements to each other. But if all 3 are playing at star level and, they're all good trade assets, right? Then you can figure it out from there, and then you have that extra asset. Like, I'm not, that's the thing. People are in a rush to trade Ant to run with Scoot and Sharp, but I think they can be as patient as they want to be. I think they can be patient over the next 2 to 3 years. Like, I don't think Simon's going anywhere. I don't think Sharp's going anywhere. I don't think Scoot's going anywhere. You just wait for these guys to develop. If they all 3 develop, it's a good problem to have. You either make it work by getting the right front court around them, and you have an insane 3-guard lineup, or you trade one of them and probably get good value back. Like, that would be a good problem to have if they're all star caliber. If only two of the 3 pan out and one of them's like a 6th man, then you got your 3-guard lineup, and it makes sense, right? So I don't think having all 3 is problematic at all right now.
I've been saying that the whole time. We don't need to trade any of them yet. Like, that's not even a decision we need to make for another year or 2. But
I don't even know if we'll have to make it 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So
I do see, here's my thing with Scoot. He has, in order to have trade value that's comparable to what we could have gotten if we traded the 3rd pick, I do think he has to be a star. And if he is a star, we're probably not trading him. So, I think it's either going to work with the 3 guards or it's not, and we're going to not get much value for him.
But here's the thing. Like, at some point, it's not saying, like, oh, he's the 3rd overall pick. Like, we're not getting enough back for the 3rd overall pick. At some point, it's like you're trading Scoot Henderson, the player. And if you look back on, like, yeah, we could have gotten more for the 3rd overall pick. If Dame was leaving, like, everybody knows how we feel about the Dame thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, just speaking almost hypothetically, like, if Dame was leaving town and you're starting a rebuild, trading the 3rd pick for, like, a win now fringe all-star caliber player probably didn't make the most sense, right? Like, you'd rather take the swing on a young player with upside, okay? If you traded that pick for a bunch of firsts, that is still just speculative value that maybe doesn't pan out. So in the end, like, you're probably, the only thing that fits the timeline, trading the 3rd pick that fits the timeline of a rebuild, is probably trading for more speculative value, and it probably would have just been just as speculative as Scoot Henderson, who everybody thought was a star. So it's like, in the end, you're trading the prospects that Scoot at the start of it, where he might not pan out, but there's a lot of hope he'll become a star. You're trading him for future picks with the hope that you could turn that into a future star, but not knowing for sure. Either way, it's speculative. So at the end of the day, taking the chance on a Scoot if he doesn't pan out and you end up trading him for a couple less first. It's like, well, you took a chance on that speculative asset.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily speculative a little bit, because let's just say we dealt with New Orleans and we got Trey Murphy, and then we got their 14th pick, had the 23 pick. We probably could have traded 14 and 23 up to get up we would have had to get up 2 spots to get Lively.
Yeah, but that's still speculative.
No, I know, but I know, but if you believe in Lively, like as a prospect or whatever, I'm just saying, like, that's 2 guys right there and future picks. Like, I'm not saying it's not speculative, but like, you could have gotten some things that you were confident on that could be parts of a team moving forward. I don't know.
I just, like, you're confident in Scoot as a prospect going into this whole entire thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, at the end of the day, if he doesn't pan out, like, everything has some risk. Like, there's a risk that Trey Murphy could end up being injury prone and Derek Lively is a backup center. You know what I mean? Like,
of course, yeah.
So that's the thing, is like, you take Scoot, you live with the downside. If the downside plays out, you can't then sit there and be like, oh man, like, this downside, we're not going to make the right decision if the time calls for it because a bad scenario happened, right? Or like he didn't pan out. At the end of the day, like 2-3 years ago, they have to make the best decision for the team at the time.
Yeah. Well, my whole thing, though, is, okay, even if you're moving on from Dame, I think we're seeing that they, like, let's just say, for argument's sake, Charlotte takes Scoot, or whoever, someone else gets 2 and takes Scoot, right? I think we would have been fine, because we could have still built around Ant and Sharp, and I think that might have been the play. And we get Scoot, and it might end up being really lucky that we got him, but it is still building around the 3 guard thing, whereas the other way, if we would have done stuff, we could have, even though it's speculative, we could have possibly built it around a bigger backcourt and having like a normal front court.
I just think that they have like an 8-year window to build around 2 of these guys, right?
Yeah.
If they get later on in that window and it's still not panning out and you still got all 3, then you probably trade Simons. 4 years from now, Sharp will be 24 and Scoot will be 23. You know what I mean? That is still not even to their prime yet, right? So, like, if they do it accelerated and they build properly over the next 3 years, then you run it with a 3-guard lineup, you have a contender. If you don't do it right, you're probably getting top picks. You still have those picks in 2028, 2029 from the Dame trade, right? And then at that point, if Ant's 28 and still haven't built around these guys properly, A, you're probably looking at a new GM, or you should be looking at a new GM. And then B, you can move off him and still have a long window to build around 2 guards. So it's like, yeah, could have, but I mean, that's just 1 year. We have a very long window to find the best 2 guards, to try and develop all 3 guards, and then if we fail, it's almost like we get another chance because you have Scoot, right? If we fail, you can move off Ant. 4 years from now, you still got a 23 and a 24-year-old who should be one of the better backcourts in the league. Even if Scoot doesn't fulfill like the superstar hope that people had for him, if he's a fringe all-star, that's like below what people were hoping for him. But if you got a fringe all-star like Scoot with Sharp and Sharp's a star, that's still going to be like a top 5-ish backcourt in the league. That's still going to be something that you can build around with all the assets, with all the picks they have coming down the line. So with Scoot in the equation, they have such a long window of time to build things the right way. In this rebuild, the whole thing should be finding a way to contend for as long a period as possible. So that's the thing, is like, yeah, if we brought in Brandon Miller instead, then it's like, yeah, you're building around Ant and Sharp, and that's great and everything, but then it's like you kind of need, you need to do it accelerated I mean, not really. You got Brandon Miller, he's young enough, like, you're fine, but I just don't think that 1 year in the grand scheme of things makes a whole bunch of difference. In the end, it literally just comes down to building out the front court as optimally as possible, and they have a bunch of assets. They have a super long window. There is no reason why 7 years from now, when Shaden Sharp is 27 and Scoot Henderson is 26, they shouldn't be contending with at least one all-star in their front court and another really good, like, well-rounded two-way player.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
They're in a truly a good spot rebuild-wise. They're going to get another top pick, it looks like. For how competitive they've been, they're 6-16. Yeah. That's really bad. Mm-hmm. That's a really bad record.
Part of me, well, like, a lot of this, for people who haven't listened for a long time, a lot of this comes for me personally from, I was like convinced we were trading Simons this summer to keep Dame, and that bummed me out because I, for years, have been saying that I think Simons could be a star. And I just feel like we decided to keep him or whatever, and they love him or whatever, but like they set it up to where they had to basically trade him to match salary if we're getting like a max contract or something, right? And that's why part of the reason why I was bummed at the trade deadline last year, because like the contracts we had this summer, I'm sitting here thinking like Ant's gone, like he's got to be gone, right? Because we have no one else to, like, if we were trading for Siakam or whatever, like how are we supposed to match salary short of picking up Kevin Knox and trading like 6 for 1 or whatever, which a lot of teams wouldn't do. So, like I was like already resigned to the fact, but then like we're like keeping him or whatever, but now we have another point guard, so he's not like necessarily the main thing. Yeah, I don't know. Part of me is like, well, what would have happened if we just, because like we kind of turned it over to Scoot, kind of turned it over to Anthony, and I just wonder what would have happened if we just turned it completely over to Ant and Sharp and didn't have a third guard to play there. But I'm glad we have Scoot. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like I was excited for Ant's ascension to stardom, and I thought it might get in the way having another guard.
Yeah. It
hasn't so far in the 4 games that Anthony's played, but
yeah, I fully understand like that thought process. I just think like I'm in terms of team building, like me and you both know the CBA really, really well. Me and you both know like how trades go down, why teams value certain trades. Like we know trades extremely well. Like that's the one thing that I will confidently say is like we understand that aspect. Now, there's sometimes where I might value a player completely differently than consensus and it looks wild. Like when you talk about trades, like it's easier to disagree on something than it is to agree on something. So I'm sure there's people out there that will hear me say that and say, man, you have some awful trade ideas that you post on Twitter. Or like you would trade Jeremy Grant for Jarris Walker in a first. That's crazy. But like, given like how confident that me and you are in knowing this, like I'm trying to not overthink.
Yeah.
Because I feel like looking back on some situations that I've talked about on air, trade stuff that I've talked about on air, some things I feel like looking back in hindsight, like I overthought it a little bit too much. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, I don't think we're overthinking trading the Bets, though. I still think you have to trade him.
No, I just think regarding, and this isn't even necessarily a trade thing, but yeah, like regarding the 3 guards, I'm trying to not overthink it. I'm trying to think about it logically, but not overthink it. Is really my whole goal. And regarding like Scoot shouldn't hold back a guy like Simons. Regardless, you're gonna have a third guard behind Simons and Sharp, and if they're a guard, they're probably going to be somebody that has the ball in their hands at least a bit as a ball handler. So if you have like a dynamic playmaker with Ant shooting, like that shouldn't hold Ant back. You know what I mean? It shouldn't noticeably affect it. Like, and it's not something where I think you have to. Yeah, it's not something where I think you have to like hand over the reins to like one specific guy. I know we're used to having one specific guy who's held the reins, But I think it's like all three. I think you can optimize all three enough together.
Mm-hmm. But that's why I think I've been saying this, right? That this whole season is like, I mean, you were saying this too. Just start all three, play them 35 minutes a game each,
Mm-hmm.
and just let them all play. Like, just let them play. If you don't have to, nothing has to be decided right now. Just let them play and let them figure it out. Like, who knows? Like, in a year or two, they might like gel and just be the perfect combination of players. I don't think like just because it didn't work out with Norm Powell playing the three doesn't mean that it can't work out with Sharp playing the three. I do think one of the three would have to become like a guy who takes on a tough defensive assignment on the perimeter for it to work. Because we saw tonight when your four is guarding a perimeter player, it does kind of put your defense in a bad position in the paint. But other than that, like, I don't think there's any reason why it can't work as long as you get the right 4 and 5.
Yeah, well, people here start all three of them together, and they don't realize it's like, even if you start all three, the majority of the time you should only be playing two. Like, Sharp should slide down to the 2, and Ant should slide down to the 1. So Scoot is full-time 1. Ant plays a little backup point guard and then some shooting guard, just like CJ has. And then Sharp plays a decent amount of backup shooting guard and a little bit of small forward. And if they're all 3 stars, you probably start all 3 because they're all 3 stars, right? But like, it still comes down to you still need the right front court. And if you have a good enough front court, then you can justify like ending games if the situation calls for it with like one of those guys out of the game. Because you got the front court to complement whatever 2 guys you have in the back court in order to be like a contention level team.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep,
is how I've started to look at it. So there's a question in chat. Rip City says, "Who are some of your ideal front court players to pair with our backcourt in the future?" It's tough without like truly having a good feel for prospects in this year's draft yet, because it's probably someone in the next 2 drafts. Like, I can sit here and take the cop-out answer and say Alex Sarr and Cooper Flagg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
at this point, the projected number 1 picks in the next 2 drafts, right? Like, obviously. But the thing is like, look at Jalen Williams with the Thunder, right? He was the 12th pick, and like, this time in his final year before getting drafted, not many people knew who he was.
Yeah.
I don't know if like this time 2 years ago I knew who Jalen Williams was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm a Gonzaga fan, and he went to Santa Clara, which is in Gonzaga's conference, but like, he never really jumped out to me before that. Like, I didn't remember him. So that's the thing, and look how great he is, right? So it could be something that we don't even know of right now. Is why it's hard to answer that question. Like, obviously, if you could somehow find your way into every answer is just going to sound like a cop-out answer. Because I'll sit here and be like, man, Jason Tatum would be great, Jason Tatum would be awesome, but that's a cop-out, Luka would be great. Like, so it's probably somebody that doesn't seem great now, but will be great later. It get greater later is what Paul Reed loves to say. So.
Well, both of us wanted Derek Lively, and he's looking like someone who could be that guy. Like, that's someone that we both identified in the draft. We both wanted him. There at the time we started wanting him, he was mocked in most drafts to be available at our 23rd pick and shot up into the lottery and stuff, which sucks. But that is absolutely a guy that we both identified as someone who could come in and be one of those guys, or at least in the rotation. But I feel like there's guys like that in most drafts, so you just got to find them. And like, no, neither of us on the flip side, both of us would have said there's no way in heck like Walker Kessler is that guy. But like, he comes in his rookie year and proved us wrong. Now he hasn't been as good this year, so maybe, who knows, maybe last year was a bit of a fluke, or maybe this year's just a sophomore slump or whatever. But there's I don't know, like, you just got to find that guy. And so, like you said, it's hard to identify it right now. You could, give up some of your assets for a guy like Jarvis Walker and hope he pans out, or maybe you think he will for sure pan out or whatever. Um, but like, it's still a risk to do that.
Yeah.
You just got to find the right
Calculated
mix.
risks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's maximizing the upside and the calculated risks that this team is going to have to take. And it might not seem like a risk, but like drafting somebody is a risk because you don't know what it's going to be. So there's upside and downside. That's a risk. But I will say this, like, I think both me and you are pretty good at scouting later on in the first into the second round and like identifying some guys like a Derek Lively. The thing is, we just need time. Like, for two freaking dumbass YouTubers, I think we do about as good of a job as anyone could expect us to of like scouting, because we actually put in the effort to like watch games, to do film study on prospects. Like, a reason I really like Tyrese Halliburton coming into his draft was like I listened to a 30-minute interview with him and Mike Schmitz, and I was really impressed with the way he talked about the game, right? Like, so me and you put in the work. The problem is, it takes time, you know? So, like, we're not in position to talk about this year's draft class in a way where we, like, truly know what we're talking about. But here's the thing. Like, we're not going to really pretend that we know what we're talking about on guys we don't. Like, we don't have to. Because we'll talk about people. You guys will know when we know something about a prospect, because we'll have put in the work. And I think at this point, we have enough of a track record for people that paid attention that we'll put in the work to scout these guys so that we can allow you guys to know more about these guys if you don't have the time to dedicate to it. So that's kind of the goal here, is like is at the end of the year we'll know about every prospect that's taken. This point, I know names, but that's about it. I know some, a lot of first rounders, I know kind of their style of play or position or maybe where they're going, but like I don't know intricate strengths and weaknesses which will determine what they become at the NBA level.
Yeah, well, unlike you, I watched college basketball all weekend, so I'm now an expert. So, no, just kidding. No, but I did watch. I spent the whole weekend basically watching.
Tankathon.
Yeah, let's do Tankathon. Yeah.
So I'll simulate it, and then we can talk prospects.
But yeah, I still have like no idea.
Yeah. This year's draft is tough, man. Let's simulate this thing at 14, Houston via Brooklyn at 13. Phoenix is not in playoff position. They're 12-10, but 13th pick goes to them. 12th pick, New Orleans. 11th pick, Portland via the Golden State Warriors. That pick could be massive. It could be Ousmane Dieng, who doesn't really look like much so far. Or it could be Jalen Williams. OKC took them 11th and 12th 2 years ago. So, that you get a Jalen Williams out of that, you're freaking sitting pretty. At 10 is Atlanta. At 9 is San Antonio via Toronto. At 8 is Charlotte. Don't know who moved up. At 7 is Utah. At 6 is Memphis. At 5 it should be Portland, and it is your Portland Trailblazers. At 4 is Chicago. Chicago moves up 4 spots. At 3 is Washington. At 2 is San Antonio. At 1 is Detroit. What a boring lottery sim.
Yeah. Oh, 5 and 11 is pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I just got 6 and 11, which is, well, we took Damon Myers in the 2012 draft. Damian Lillard, Myers Leonard. So hopefully we can get the next Dame with the 6th pick. But
I'm a better player than Myers.
Yeah. So what prospects did you pay attention to this weekend?
Well, I am now back in love with Gerard Holmes. But yeah.
Of course you watched some Gerard Holmes.
Had to watch Dayton, man. That's my team.
He's projected as the last pick on Tankathon.
I don't get that at all. Dude, Tori.
Yeah.
It was so weird. The first 2 plays of the game, they like pass the ball into a point guard, and then he comes back like in the backcourt and gets the ball and dribbles the ball up the court, like really awkwardly, but like
Deron Holmes?
They were using him as like a point center, like bringing the ball up and then like initiating the offense up. Like it reminded me of the like how Philadelphia uses Embiid. Like they were playing him like he was Embiid, and like he was catching dribble handoffs and like doing all this stuff with the ball, and I'm like, what the heck? Like he had this one like fake handoff up top, and he spun and dribbled all the way to the hoop and dunked on someone. Like I was like, whoa. Like if he's like actually like a he had one where he like threw a dime in traffic to a cutter for a land. Like I don't know, man. He was looking awesome, but he also looks like a bit like I don't know if he's like mobile and athletic enough to do the same things in the NBA against like bigger centers.
I mean, Jokic isn't mobile athletic and he finds a way, so I think it comes down to
But
finding a way,
Jokic
you
is
know?
like a true 7 footer.
Yeah.
Like
So he's a tweener. So that's what could hold him back. But I mean, with a prospect like this, you're looking for defensive floor and offensive upside, right?
yeah,
Like hopefully it's like, okay, well if that offensive upside doesn't pan out, he can still be serviceable because he'll be a good defensive player and can finish, right? So that's like a role player in the league. So if he has that sort of floor, but then has like, oh, maybe he can pass the ball a little bit, 31% from three on 1.5 attempts per game. Like maybe he can truly stretch out his game to three, right? And they're having him handle the ball a little bit. Like maybe if he gets run off the 3-point line, he can drive and kick. You know what I mean? Like if you have offensive traits like that for upside and a good defensive floor, I think that makes you higher than the last pick in the draft. Like I think his combination of floor plus upside is more so a fringe first round pick.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He doesn't have like I mean his measure was okay, but he did measure a little shorter than I was hoping. But he looks huge out there. Like I don't get it because like he looked like maybe it was just because the team he was playing was so small, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like Wooga Poplar is going to be a role player in the league simply just because of how well he shoots the three. Like, averages 1.7 assists per game and 3 turnovers. Like, he is not going to be a somebody that handles the ball or makes plays, but like 3-and-D, that's his archetype. So
Yeah,
he doesn't have a ton of upside, but he has a clear cut role that it'll translate into. So you got different styles of prospects in that way.
well, I watched that game this weekend. They got spanked by Cody Williams and
Yeah.
De Silva from Colorado. Yeah,
De Silva reminds me of Trace Jackson Davis 2.0, but that can maybe shoot the three a little bit, which is an intriguing player. Do you get those same vibes or no? You've watched him more
no,
than me.
there's someone else that reminds me of him. De Silva kind of reminds me of like Dwight Powell a little bit. I don't know.
But he could. Dwight Powell in his day could like shoot a little bit. He doesn't really shoot much anymore, but
Yeah,
I
I mean,
I
De
think
Silva's a better 3-point shooter, but
I think De Silva will go first round.
yeah.
They have him at 42nd, but I think like he's the type of Jaime Hawkins type player. Like he's not the same, but just like the older player that does enough well that a team is just like, yeah, he can play for us right away. We're taking him with the 18th pick.
I there was someone else that gave me. Why am I blanking on this? I was watching someone else and I was thinking Trace Jackson Davis because he didn't shoot threes at all, and I'm trying to remember who it was. I can't remember
I think
now.
you mentioned it on a previous stream, but
Yeah,
Iguodaro.
yeah, that's who it was.
You said that on a previous stream.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, De Silva intrigues me just because he can pass and shoot and is 6'9". Like you're just banking on tools and what you can build out of that there.
Just a little older. He might be another one of those tweener guys that.
Yeah. But I mean that's it feels like every year there's a guy where it's like, oh, he's older, that's why he slipped, and then it's a
Yeah.
steal.
Well, I'm not saying the age thing, but
There's
I
a
don't know.
lot of older prospects in this class, it seems like.
I just like if he was a 7 footer, I would say he'd probably be a lottery pick. But 6'9", I don't know if he can defend forwards in the NBA. Like I don't know.
Have you watched-
I need to pay because I just my eyes go to Cody Williams
Yeah,
like when I'm watching Colorado, so it's tough. Yeah,
Have you watched Missy? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, a little bit. Uh, Similar to what I just said, I'm usually watching Walter off ball,
Yeah.
so um, yeah,
I haven't watched him. I'm just looking at stat profile. Like, pretty interesting. Statistical profile.
yeah.
Because, yeah, I've watched a little bit of Walter, but I don't think he was in the game. Yeah. Kalel Ware is somebody that I
Mhm.
really want to
Uh,
watch this year.
yeah, I watched that game. They got blown out by Auburn or something, but yeah, Khalil was like the only one who played well for Indiana.
Yeah. Let's see. We got
Well, he had 2 for 8, but got
10
to the
free
free
throws.
throw line a bunch. Yeah,
Made an impact. Yeah. Interesting stuff. I mean, this pick is so
and
interesting to have, man.
shout out to Bronny for playing too. That's cool
Yeah,
to
that was
see
cool
him
to
on the
see for
court
sure.
playing.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
This is a guy to watch in the G League, I guess. I've heard he's been doing well. Yeah, Tyler Smith.
yeah. That's the problem. They got like 7 dudes, and it's like it's hard to like.
6'11", 25 minutes a game, almost 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 41% from 3, 51% for the field. That is, I mean, that's good numbers, man. Like that.
If he keeps
I
that
need
up,
to
he's
watch
gonna
him.
jump
Yeah,
up. Yeah.
yeah. So that's the thing. Like guys like that, I will have very well thought out opinions of by the time the draft is here. But like, I haven't watched Tyler Smith, so we'll see. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, that's prospect talk.
Can I have a rant for a second?
Oh, you want to rant about something? Somebody earlier was asking for a rant from you, so I guess
Yeah.
if they're still here, you can fulfill their fantasies.
I want to rant about a hypocrite.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
who's that?
It's our head coach, Chauncey Billups.
Oh yeah, getting mad at Matisse and Jeremy for laughing and
Yeah.
smiling when they're down like 20.
He called out Matisse and Jeremy for laughing and smiling after a game or at the end of a game recently. And what do I see after every freaking game? This guy who had a problem with his players smiling always goes up to the other team's coach and players and all that crap, and it was a big smile and is laughing. But it's okay for him to do it, but
Yeah,
not the players. Like what kind of message is that sending? And when are you going to
not a
hold
good one.
yourself accountable for
Yeah,
that crap, for losing a game, a tough game in the Clippers, and going and being buddy buddy and smiling and laughing? Why is that a problem for your players but not for you, Chauncey?
dude, he'll do it in the middle of games where he's down 20. He'll do it like at any
Yeah.
point in time. He cannot sit there and complain about his players doing it if he does it. Yeah, I had a problem with that. I had a problem with that too. I thought that was hypocritical as well.
I don't care if you do it. Like, I don't care, but don't
Call
call
your
people
players
out
for
for
it, yeah.
people doing it if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
You just
And off
lost
the
a
stream
tough
on
game,
it,
too. Yeah,
yeah.
come on.
Yeah, absolutely. End off the stream on a
I just,
Brant rant.
I just had to say something about that because
Yeah.
it's bugging me, dude.
I feel it. I feel it. Man. So chat, you guys are gonna go 2 more days without us. So it's been 2. We had 2 days off the last 2 days. Got out an episode of Out the Mud if you want to watch it. It's the podcast that I help produce with Paul Reed from the Sixers and Philly Take with RB, a big time 76ers YouTuber. And then I'm starting a show on Friday that I'm appearing on for BetUS, so shout out to them. If you guys want to bet on sports, make sure you use BetUS in the link at the top of the description box below. 125% deposit match, so it's literally free money to play with, free money to have fun with. Minimum $100 deposit for that deposit match. Shout out to them. They've been the sponsor I always dreamed of, man. Like
Yeah.
they're producing a show that I'm gonna be partnered up with like some YouTubers bigger than myself talking hoops. Like that's sick, man. So
Awesome.
shout out to them.
Congrats on that opportunity.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Support the sponsors, and then also I want to thank Manta Sleep Mask. So Christmas is coming up. Christmas is only in 2 weeks.
2 weeks from today, or now it's 13 days because we're into.
So, guys, if you don't know what to get your mom or your sister or your father or your brother, or if you're Eric's age and have like a 20-year-old son, I don't know, like anyone in your life, if you're struggling, I had to throw out the age there. If you're struggling to think of a Christmas gift for them, I got you covered with Manta Sleep Mask. It is a longtime sponsor of ours. They make a great product. Their sleep mask basically has everything you could ever want. The eye cups are adjustable. They're Velcro, so you can adjust them to fit your face. Adjustable strap. You can hand wash the cups. They also have steam cups, cooling cups, aromatherapy. This is the sound mask, has Bluetooth speakers in it. They basically just deck out a sleep mask and is very comfortable, and it's a great product. And it makes for a great gift because what better gift than to give someone than a good night of sleep and showing somebody that you care about how comfortable they are, because these things are truly comfortable. So if you guys need a gift for anyone in your life with Christmas 2 weeks away, use the link in the description box below. Use my promo code Uprise for a 10% discount. I got you guys the discount. It also helps out the channel, and Manta is also a company that I love, that I've been working with for the past 7 months. Great people over there. The link in the chat will take you to their website as we sign off here, and you can buy any products. AJ says, I ain't sleeping until Christmas, dog. Well, you can buy it for somebody you care about if you care about anyone. I don't know if you care about anyone. I'm not going to assume. But if you care about someone, use my code.
Use it after Christmas, too.
You can use it after Christmas, too. If you forgot to give somebody a gift, just buy it on Christmas, use my code, and give them the receipt. Give them the receipt. So, anyway, great way to support the channel, and it's a great gift for anyone you care about in your life, and it's a great product. Great product. AJ says he has a family. AJ, I'm happy for you. I'm glad. Also, we're your family. So hopefully, are you talking about us? Are you talking about someone else? Anyway, that wraps up the stream. Thank you guys for watching. This is a fun postgame show. It was a fun game considering they lost. Maybe the most fun loss of the year because the Blazers backcourt combines for a whopping, I'm going to have to do some math.
84.
84. Oh, you knew that already.
Well, including Scoot.
Yeah. 84 points from Simon, Sharp, and Scoot.
Yeah.
All looked really good tonight, and this Blazer backcourt is looking good going forward. I'm going to have a couple videos coming up over the next couple of days. That's the other thing with our sponsors. They help you get more content because I have certain sponsorship reads to do. So shout out to them. If you guys like more content, definitely support them. And, yeah, I'm going to have a video probably on the Blazers backcourt, and then trade targets the next 2 days is what I'm planning on. And then we'll be live again on Thursday with another edition of Blazers Uprise Live and another post-game show as the Blazers take on the Utah Jazz at home. They start a stretch where I believe they have 9 out of 10 games at home or 8 out of 9, something like that. So there's a lot of Blazers in Portland.
And if you're super bored and want to kill like 3.5 or 4 hours, Rich is going to post a video we did over the weekend. That's super
long.
long.
Is it?
It's almost 4 hours.
You can play it in your Manta sound mask and fall to sleep, and then when you wake up, it'll still be going.
Yeah. Well, so we started with a video where we just talk about rooting for players that have moved on throughout our lives from the Blazers. Mm-hmm. So we started when we were young and stuff, and when Rich and I start talking, we always just, it's a long period of time to cover because we're both old, but we also, we always end up telling stories to each other and going off on tangents and stuff, so we just end up talking forever, even though it was supposed to be a short video. So look for that on Rip City Retro if you want something to do.
Yep. Shout out to Rip City Retro. Shout out to Rich, who's been doing post-game shows as I take 10 minutes to get live nowadays. So, yeah, shout out to them. Go subscribe. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We're trying to get to 10K. I wanted to do it before the new year. That's going to be tough. But if you have friends that want some Blazers podcast, Blazers content, then recommend our channel to them. Because I'm just dreaming of hitting 10K, man. Like, that'll be awesome. That'll be just a great number to hit, you know? Like, I try not to care too much about numbers, but there's something different about seeing that 10K, you know? So I'm looking forward to that. We're close. We're like 250 subs away, so make sure you hit that sub button. And then Umar says, none of my friends support the Blazers. Haha, sorry. We'll find some friends that support the Blazers. And recommend the channel. Recommend the channel. Because gotta get that 10K. Anything else, Eric?
And thanks everyone for watching. Hope to see you guys for both streams on Thursday.
Yep. Once again, shout Manta, Sleep Mask, and BetUS. Links in description for both. And with that being said, we're out of here. See you Thursday videos. Until then, and as always, peace out.